Hello everybody, this is Introduction to Assistive Technology. We will talk about categories, assessment methods, and frameworks. This is Hosni Amira, Professor of Occupational Therapy and Assistive Technology Provider certified, also Kinesiotape certified instructor. In this lecture, and this is recorded in August of 2025, and the reason this is important because technology changes all the time. Some of the technology will be featured in this presentation, maybe dated by the time you look at it, so maybe old, and some of the websites I will click on maybe doesn't work anymore. And this is my email. I'm always open for feedback. Please email me if you have any questions. I also go off my memory in most of the topics here, so if I misspeak, please forgive me. I don't have a script to go by, so I'm relying on my notes and my memory. This is copyrighted. If you need to use part of this presentation, reach out to me, and if we need to collaborate any assistive technology related issues, also reach out to me. All right, so we will talk about assistive technology, and if this is too long of a lecture, I might split it into two parts. The first will be about the definition and categories, and the second part may be the assessment process. It depends on how long this takes. Obviously, you can speed the recording, the video, so it goes faster. All right, so without further ado, assistive technology, one of the most common definition is RISNA's definition. And RISNA is the Rehab Engineering Society of North America, and the definition was pulled in 2025 again. They define assistive technology as any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified, customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capacities of individuals with disabilities. So the bolded text is important. The whole definition is important, but the bolded text is extra important. Assistive technology can be an equipment, which is a hardware you can hold in your hand. So think of a device that you can actually manipulate in your hand. A product system usually refers to software. Whether this is acquired commercially off the shelf, meaning that you pull it up from the shelf and you give it to the client. For example, a hospital wheelchair. Hospital wheelchairs are standard equipment. You give it to the client, not a whole lot of modification or customization. Or maybe you take that wheelchair and modify it a little bit. You add something to it. You add a seating positioning system to it. You add a tray, lab tray or something. Or the equipment, the technology can be totally customized to one patient only. Now, the whole thing about technology, it needs to maintain or increase functional capacities of individuals with disabilities. So technology, assistive technology is geared toward people with disabilities, and unlike universal design where it can be universal for anybody whether they use technology or not, whether they have a disability or not, they can use and benefit from assistive tech, the universal design principles. All right, take a quick look at the RISNA website. It is a great website to look at. Again, this is the Rehab Engineering, risna.org. They have great resources for clinicians, for legislations, and for advocacy related to assistive technology. Universal design, on the other hand, is universal design. Like if you see in this picture at the very left top, for example, this is a sliding door of a store, grocery store or supermarket. You go in the store, whether you have a wheelchair or not, like you're able-bodied or disabled, you will go through this door. The doors will automatically open for you. So this is equitable use principle of universal design. We are not talking about universal design, obviously, but it is a lot of technology. Just a side note, it starts as a technology and then ends up as a universal design principles because it's so beneficial. So this is assistive technology. Now, there is a range of options. It can be high-tech, medium-tech, middle-tech, or low-tech. And high-tech devices, this is an example on a communication device used for people who have communication difficulty or aphasia or expressive aphasia. And in this case, high-tech technology, assistive technology, can be it's advanced, it's electronic, and also it needs complex features and programming and multiple sessions of training. So if this client that you have after a stroke, or they have an autism or difficulty communicating, or they have an Lou Gehrig's disease or whatever it is, they have to use this device, then there will be multiple sessions of training, fitting, and also customization, because this is geared for one client. So high-tech devices, and I think this might be a Tobii or a Dynavox, Tobii most likely. It will be used for a specific client after a lot of programming and a lot of training. Mid-tech assistive technology would be something like this. This is a GoTalk 20. Again, it is communication device, but it has 20 buttons only. Actually 25, because the top ones are stable. The bottom 20 are removable. There's a removable card over here. You pull out and insert another card. But you do record the message under each one of those buttons. This one says, I want my basketball, I want to go out and play. This one says cold, hot, eat, food, whatever. So there is some programming, but it's not complex. Uh, People with basic knowledge of technology may be able to program this and train the clients. Low-tech assistive technology is the communication board over here. So this is a board that is printed out. It's a static. It has symbols, either letters, wording, or simple pictures. And again, it can only serve one purpose only, like drink, eat, happy, sad, etc. And then you have another card or another card that says other symbols. So this does not require, it's a symbol, does not require batteries, it does not require programming. Now, high tech, medium tech, low tech. This is an example on communication board, but the principles can be applied to all aspects of technology. Wheelchairs can be high tech, low tech, etc. Seating and positioning devices, the same thing. Technology for the blind, technology for the deaf, also can be high tech, medium tech, or low tech devices. All right. Categories of technology, it varies, depends on which book you look at, which reference or website you look at, but I narrowed it down here or lumped them into 10 categories. Assistive technology for the vision, hearing, AAC, alternative augmentative communication, speech communication devices, AT for learning and cognition deficits, AT for seating, positioning, and mobility, AT for daily living tasks, we call this usually, and sometimes it's lumped with environmental control, and we call those together electronic ADLs, activities of daily living. Vehicle modification and transportation, and those usually include uh, from the devices, technology that the client needs to transfer into the vehicle or get their chair into the vehicle, such as a ramp, for example, or a swivel seat, uh, get into the vehicle, strap into the vehicle safely so they don't fall over, and control the steering wheel, the pedals, the turn signals, technology and adaptations to fill in gas, for example, etc. Now, the number 9 is computers and related peripheries, and those are usually technology that helps us input data into the computer and receive data from the device or the other handheld device or phones. In my case, for example, I'm using a keyboard and a mouse, for this presentation. So this is my input. Now my out and my headphone, obviously, because I'm using a mic. So this is how I input information in the device. Now, how do I receive it? I receive a visual feedback and I also receive an auditory feedback. Now, if a client was blind or deaf, then they will not be able to use the speakers on the computer. They need a different way of outputting. If the client is blind, they will need a different way of inputting information. They cannot use my standard keyboard and mouse, for example. So this category of technology usually covers things that are related to inputting and receiving information from computers and handheld devices. The last category is recreation, sports, and leisure. Think of a spinal cord injury client who wants to go to the beach, for example. You cannot take a regular wheelchair to the beach. So they have beach wheelchairs. If they want to go, for example, fishing, it will be hard to do fishing out of a wheelchair without any adaptations. So we'll pause here for a minute. We talked about definition of technology, software, hardware, customizable, etc. We also talked about high tech, low tech, medium tech. We also talked about vision, hearing, and the categories of technology. Take a minute, pause your recording, and see out of all those categories, which one have you encountered lately or have used in your clinical or educational setting. Okay, so hopefully you were able to identify one or two categories. And if this is new to you, then it's great information. If you're already familiar with the technology, that will be a good refresher for you. Now, we'll take each and every one of those categories one by one and talk about the options that are available for people with disabilities. So if you have a client who is visually impaired or blind, then there's a technology that would help them into achieving and improving their function. Vision assistive technology usually refers to products that people who are blind or visually impaired. So those are two different categories of people. People can be totally blind, which means no light perception, or visually impaired to various degrees of impairment. And the technology also used to assistive technology used for improving their daily activities, accessing computers, navigating in the city, going to their jobs, and performing their job tasks. Now, we usually start in rule of thumb in technology is less is more. So less technology is always better. The least complicated device is usually the best device or the best option for the clients. So we usually start with magnifiers for people who are blind or visually impaired. Now, if they're totally blind, then magnifiers will not work. Then we will move on to the next category, which would be talking devices, devices that have voice output. In this case, blood pressure machines, for example. And most blood pressure machines, you put it on, you check your blood pressure, it will tell you your blood pressure is, 120 over 60 with a heartbeat of 62 if you're healthy. Then this is a device that talks to you. Same thing for thermometers, for example. They will check the temperature. Same thing for many other devices. They have an output built in. Color identifiers are, almost like a handheld device that's size of a TV remote control. You put it on your clothes and it will tell you this is a black, this is white, this is red, this is whatever, so you can match your clothes before you go out in public. Refreshable braille displays are braille displays that are refreshable. So those are electronic devices that people who are blind use, and this could be a desktop or a handheld refreshable display. Let's take a quick look. So this is what a refreshable braille display looks like. Down here where this client fingers are, there are 20 different cells that have 8 different pins, and those pins will go up and down. If you notice, some of them are up, some of them are down. Let's zoom in. So this over here, it will tell the client that this is a certain letter of the alphabet, and they scan, the client will move their hands right to left or left to right, whatever they're reading, and they will be able to read what is on here. Now this is connected via Bluetooth to a handheld device like an iPhone or an iPad, or it can be hardwired into a computer. So if this client gets a message or an email, they're able to scan their fingers back and forth and read that email using Braille. Now if they need to input or reply, then those buttons at the top are the keyboard. So this is a keyboard, Braille keyboard and Braille display 2-in-1. And again, if you look here at the very bottom, there's a speaker too. So you might be able to turn the speaker on and it might read whatever is on the screen you're looking at. So this is a refreshable Braille display. The next one is screen reading softwares. Those are softwares that you install on your laptop or computer, and they will be able to read whatever is on the screen. In the old days, we used to, the most common one was called JAWS, JAWS, I remember, Job Accessibility something something. We will install that on the computer of the client, and it will be reading the screen. Now, most browsers actually have a built-in screen reading capabilities. It's already built in accessibility feature in the browser. Let's go back and look at that Braille display one more time, and I will demo to you what I mean. So if you look at the screen over here, this is I'm not sure what company that is even, but if a blind person is trying to read what's on the screen, there's ads, there is buttons, there is multiple drop-down menus, there is a lot of menu on the right that are moving. So this is so distracting, and it will be very, very hard for a blind person to read. So the option is, and this is the browser I'm using here is Internet Explorer. Microsoft Edge, sorry, not Explorer anymore. We don't use Explorer terminology. So you look here at the Edge, and there are 3 buttons here within this circle, and you click on that, and it will give you immersive reading or read aloud. So if a blind person clicks on immersive reading, then the whole text in the background and the moving ads and the ribbons at the very top and the menus to the right have disappeared. There is nothing on the screen except the image and also the text. So this is very, very important for people who are blind. If they want to use read the text on the screen, they need to be able to navigate to this button. Now, what does immersive reading mean? It actually reads it aloud for you. Oh, before we do that, so you can also change the text preference on this. You can make it smaller, you can make it bigger, you can also change the background color for different contrast. If your loved one or the client you're working with have a residual vision and you need a different contrast, this is a good trick to use. You can do that. And you can also read it where it says read aloud. It will read it aloud for you.
National Braille Press launches the B2G R. Neighbor news. Affordable refresh.
And then, sorry, I stopped that. But there are also voice options here. You can change the speed, you can change male, female, etc. Too. So this is a great option for people who are visually impaired. Right, so this was, this was browsers built in the browser, and even the iPhone. I know that there are ways to turn that on, and not all websites have built-in browser soft reading software or immersive reading capability. So it just depends on the browser. Tactile prints are prints that have texture to them. So imagine if you want to, you're teaching a geography lesson to a client, to a child in the school, a student, and you want to tell them about the map of the Middle East, for example. And then obviously you can describe it to them, but they may not be able to visualize it. So in this case, there are texture maps or texture whatever displays pictures. So this picture can be, this is a map of the Middle East, for example, and it has an imprint braille in the middle middle over here. And then this could be any picture from biology, a picture of a horse, a bus, or school, or chemistry or biology or whatever you are trying to teach. So those are texture maps, tactile prints rather. But there they have texture too. There's also tactile pins. Those are pins that almost, I'm not going to click on it because of the time, but you can look it up if you want to. Tactile pins are pins that have almost like glue substance, but they're, I'll show you a picture later, actually. So tactile pins, we'll talk about that later. Phone and remote control with large tactile buttons, and there's also apps, and there is the app I really like the most is very, very good community service. If you are interested into the vision service community, you can download this app. It's called Be My Eyes. It is a great app You can click on it. It's a way to help people who are blind navigate and see and read. They call a volunteer, in this case a clinician or anybody, and this volunteer access this blind person's cameras, and then they can look at medication bottle, they can read the menu, they can read the street sign, wherever this. So basically, you are lending an eye for a person who can't see what they're looking at, because unfortunately, not all places are accessible as far as text and print. Obviously, the last one we have is the white canes, and white canes are for orientation and mobility specialists. Those are the white with a red stripe. You see individuals who are blind using those all the time. AFB, American Foundation for the Blind, have great resource uh, and guidelines and educations and technology uh, that are geared toward people who are blind. Speaking of AFP, I used to take my OT students to AFP, and then I am going to show you some of the pictures that we looked at and some of the products they feature. So this is equipments and technology that we found in the American Foundation for the Blind in Dallas, Texas. I used to take my OT students there. And for example, this is food cans here, and those buttons are labeled with numbers, if you can see, 22 and 23, and most likely they will have recording, and it will tell you, if you push on it, it will tell you what it is. This little scanner on the left here is you scan the barcode on the product and it will tell you what it is. It will tell you it's, in this case, Del Monte corn or vegetable, and it will tell you, the size and the cooking instructions and everything about that food product. This is a pen Friend 2. This particular pen comes with different tags where you can put them on items, and you can record messages, and you can scan that and it will tell you what it is. Those are medication bottles that have recording memos on them. And those recording memos are for medication, obviously. It needs to be set up by somebody, and it will tell the client, they push the red button and it will say, this is your heart medicine, take one a day, side effects, blah, blah, blah. So whatever recording you put on that. So those are really good for clients who live alone at home. This is your old style medication organizer, but it has Braille dots on it, Braille language, so you can easily identify, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is obviously Braille language or pill organizer. Those are the phones, old style landline phones that have big buttons, for example. You can see the contrast, white on black, and if you look closer, you can see the Braille dots on those too. Over to, this is obviously old by now, but this is where you would call somebody and it might be able to, you see their picture, and you will also see some text at the very bottom if you are blind and hard of hearing. Over here, those are the texture dots in the orange, and this is like a tube, almost like glue that we used in school. You put the little bit of a dot over here to tell the client this is on, off, medium heat, dot and a line, for example. You can put that on or two of them or three of them. This is interesting disk over here. This disk is, it's a boiling disk. So once the water starts boiling in this kettle, it will start making some noise. What else is on this picture here? Timers, obviously, and things like that. Those are plastic knives, but it's not specialty plastic, but they can cut the fruits and vegetables and meat, but they're not gonna cut your skin. So they're really good for people who are blind, so they don't cut themselves. Same thing over here. You have an adapted cutting board with an edge over here. You don't slide the stuff, your vegetables and fruits off of it. Those are your standard CCTVs, closed caption TVs, where there's a camera over here, and you can see enlarged image over here, and the buttons on the side you are able to change the contrast, you can zoom, you can freeze the picture, you can even have a text output where it will read whatever is in this box over here for you. This is another, see if you can remember what, I'm going to pause and see if you can remember what we called that earlier. It's a braille display that's refreshable, but instead of 20 cells like the one we had over there, this is whatever it is, 12 or 18, 12 cells, and also a keyboard at the same time. And it's hooked to an iPad, and it's wired into an iPad. So it can be, like I said earlier, wired or wireless with a Bluetooth. This is an extra large remote control, and again with a high contrast, you have only the numbers, and TV, VCR, DVD. If you know what those are, then you're old. If you know what a VCR and DVD, nobody uses those anymore. But at the very bottom here, you have a volume and a channel. So the volume and channel buttons are very accessible. They're located in the base of the remote control, and they're very accessible. Over here is the glasses. I cannot remember the name of it, but there's 2 layers of glasses, and there's an adjustment on the right over here. You can zoom in and out on pictures if you have low vision. So those are some of the things we saw in the AFB back then, and this was probably 2017, 18 maybe. So this is probably an old technology by now. There's one thing that oh, here it is. So if you're attentive, you would have seen this little sign here. It says way around, and this is a trademark technology. Way around this has a chip in it, and it has a transmitter, and the blind person will have a receiver or a headphone, and they will be going around. For example, in the hospital, they will have one by the door saying hospital name, first floor. They exit out the elevator, there is another one saying, second floor, third floor, and wherever you put this, whatever recorded message you will see, you will include on it, the blind person will hear that message. And this is a really cool technology too. So this was in the background hiding. This is the traditional stylus, braille stylus and style, and this is what they use to make those raised pins. It's specialty paper, and the paper is sandwiched in between 2 layers of this style, and then with the stylus, the student will push the dots in, and they'll flip the paper upside down for it to be read later. So this is some of the technology for that are used for low vision and blind people. So there are apps, there are big buttons, there are magnifiers, there's screen reading softwares, and obviously CCTVs, which I don't have listed here for you, but you saw a picture of that already. Now, what about technology for the hard of hearing and deaf individuals? Now, this is the technology that products for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, and it helps them obviously with daily activities, communication, and other needs. Now, I'm going to start with a question, and I want you to think, how does a person who is deaf or hard of hearing makes a phone call? Let's go for deaf, not hard of hearing. So how does a person who is deaf makes a phone call? If you know anybody who is or uses a phone to make a phone call to another person, how do they do it? So this is interesting question. Obviously, it's really to get you to thinking about the difficulty a hard of hearing or a deaf person may face. They may be, if they're hard of hearing, then they will use a voice amplification for hard of hearing, and those could be custom made, or you can buy them $20 off of Amazon. And they put the headphones on, and they put a mic, and they clip it to their shirt, and then it amplifies the noise and the voices and the backgrounds and everything. So this is usually the first line of defense for hard of hearing. It has it has pros and cons. It's very easy to use, not a whole lot of setup, but and it looks like this. It looks something like this. They come in different kinds and different varieties, but there's a speaker or a headphone and there's a mic here. And again, this could most likely is wired and it's rechargeable. And there are again, like they're good for people who are hard of hearing, but the problem is obviously they can hear everything, the background, the lights, everything is amplified, and it might be a learning curve for the clients, but they might be better than nothing. So it's a good start, and they are wired hearing aids with the microphone. This is the brand name at least, but they're usually wired microphones is what we call them. The other option would be infrared TV headphones, for example. If you watch TV, most people don't watch TVs anymore. But if you do, then or if your client does, an elderly person, maybe they want to watch some TV. There are infrared headphones. You put the sender unit over the TV and you put the receiver over the client's head, and this way they don't have to turn their TV up too high. They also could be Bluetooth headphones, and these days, not most, but a lot of hearing aids have a Bluetooth capability. So if they already use a hearing aid because of their hearing difficulty, obviously hearing aids need to be tested, individualized, individually calibrated to the client. So if the client uses a hearing aid, might as well have a Bluetooth hearing aid. This way they can take their phone calls into that hearing aid. They can also listen to the phone, listen to YouTube, look at YouTube or TikTok or whatever over the hearing aid. So they don't have to use an external device on top of a hearing aid. So everything goes into that hearing aid. So if you have an option or if you have a choice, Bluetooth hearing aids are great. Now, if none of this works and the client is really totally deaf, then we go into vibrating alarm clocks and watches. Those are the client cannot hear the output, then we need to use another sense, in this case vibration. So they're not going to wake up for the alarm, so we get a vibrating alarm and they put it on the nightstand next to them, and sometimes we put it on the frame of the bed and the bed will vibrate from that, and then the client will wake up. Same thing goes for watches that they wear on their wrist. Same thing applies to doorbells, smoke detectors with flashing lights. For example, you can get a doorbell, instead of ringing, the light in the room will go on and off. For example, if there's somebody on the door and you have a visitor who comes in and they ring the doorbell, then the client can't hear it, but they will see the light in the living room flashes, for example. Or you can get a dog maybe, and the dog will run to the door and tell you there's somebody by the door. So this is a low-tech solution. Of course, you gotta take care of the dog then. Joking aside, but you can also have a clip-on option with those too. So if the light doesn't go off in the living room, or if you're in the bathroom and you can't see the light in the living room, then there's a clip-on vibrator that you put on. Closed captioning is very common these days, and you can even turn it on automatically on most YouTubes and most movies that we see. Uh, and portable closed captioning. Portable closed captioning is really a technology, unfortunately, not as widely used, but it is really good for people who are going out in public and going interacting with people who don't speak sign language. This is one brand of CapTel, like live captioning, for example. This is between two people who the hard of hearing person will receive a phone call, and then they can't hear it obviously, but they can read what's on the screen. And if they're able to speak, then they will speak their responses, and the other person on the other line can hear them okay. So for example, this one is saying hi grandma. So the granddaughter or grandson is talking to his grandma, and then whatever he or she is saying, grandma can see on the phone. Then grandma talks back, and then they can hear her okay, obviously. If grandma is unable to talk back,